We are back. Today, guys, I want to go over continuing what we discussed in the last video in regards to vulnerability. But primarily what I want to discuss is this concept of grounding. And this can apply to women just as much as it does to men. But I'm speaking particularly to the men in grounding, because we are to stay grounded, to remain grounded, and to be grounded. So one of the things from the last video that I shared with you was men crying and opening up, and how women who are in their wounded feminine will lash out to you. So I wanted to add on to that, right? There's an appropriate time to cry and there's an inappropriate time to cry. An appropriate time to cry would be like if your pet died, if you lost a loved one, if you had a traumatic event, if your left arm has just been cut off by a hacksaw. An inappropriate time would be if you are driving with your girlfriend or wife and a giant bug hits your windshield. And you go, oh my god, the bug, what about the bug's life? What about the bug's life? And you become like emotionally distressed over a bug hitting your windshield in a life cycle ending. Okay? That would be an inappropriate time to cry. It would also be inappropriate to cry. It would also be inappropriate to cry every time something doesn't go your way, because she wants a man, she doesn't want a baby, she doesn't want a child, she's not there to babysit. So that being said, this concept of grounding, right now I want you to envision a tree, right? Just close your eyes and envision a tree. And this tree is right by a river, and the river's flowing just downwards, a stream that trickles. And you hear the splashes, and you hear these things, and you see this great old birch tree just standing upright right by the river. And it's just standing there. Not moving, unmovable, unshakable. And then let me ask you this. How can that tree be by the river and be completely unaffected by the water that's around it? Let's say like a class 4 tsunami happens down this river. Even though tsunamis don't happen in rivers, I know, but just pretend for this moment. What is stopping that tree from just toppling over? And the answer to that is the roots. The roots of that birch tree are so deeply ingrained into the soil. We're talking multiple feet down, but they're so deep within the soil that it's still sustaining itself. How? Because it's still getting the nutrients and the rich soil that it needs in order to continue to grow and to remain upright and strong. And a lot of people use oak, like a strong oak tree, but I wanted to use the water as an example because it's people's emotions. It's the unexpected events of our life that we meet and we have to come to grips with. It's the ever-changing movements, the ups and downs, the highs, the lows of our life. And so what does this look like? Through the ability to connect with the world around us, we can gain self-awareness just by being present. And in essence, this allows us to emotionally self-regulate, causing us to become the master of our emotions rather than the victim. And this is the major reason why women in particular are drawn to that calm, cool, collected guy. Because we all know that energy travels, right? And one of the speakers that was at the leadership conference that I was at had mentioned, people feel your energy even before you enter a building, even before you enter a room. Like, how amazing is that? So whatever you are putting out, you are radiating. And you might not even know what it is, but people just pick up on it. But women want to embrace, right? They want to feel that safety. They want to feel that security. They want to feel like they know that they are taken care of without a doubt in their mind. And part of that is a grounded man. A man who is grounded within himself, and as a result, others look up to him. And so there are grounding exercises you can do. I won't be putting them in this video, but maybe in the near future, that will help you exude confidence, calmness, relaxation, and completely get rid of your nervousness and uncertainty. Because nobody likes somebody who's always fidgeting or nervous or worried about the next thing, or, oh, what if I did this wrong, and overanalyzing it, right? We're all human, we all make mistakes. So the other thing is that we've discussed before masculine and feminine energy, and we're going to revisit this right now, is that women in particular, because everything flows together in their brain, right? Men have the ability to compartmentalize. If something bad happened, like a pet's death, and I had to go to work, I'm able to lock up those emotions for a later date. Women don't have that ability. Now, women do have the ability to multitask, whereas men don't have that ability. But what this means is that women are more emotionally guided than logical in a lot of approaches. And I know some people might disagree with me and take heat, but just listen. Scientific data proves that there's different areas of the corpus callosum, different areas of the left and right hemisphere that light up in men and women biologically, okay? And so your job as the man, not just with women, but in anything, is to be completely unperturbed in your emotion. And what that means is just distraught, upset, that one person's emotions shape your entire day, shape what you're feeling, shape why you're feeling this way. And rather than not letting those things dictate what you do and can't do, you're allowing them into your bubble, right? So your ability as a man to be unperturbed, especially with women in their changing emotions, only increases her attraction for you. Because remember, they need that safety, they need that security, they need that sense of, I know I'm going to be taken care of. I know he hears me, I know he can listen. I know deep down that he genuinely cares for me and would never let anything happen to me. I mean, women need to feel that security, especially the feminine, in order to open up and express themselves in a vulnerable way. And so when I'm firmly grounded in my masculine energy, I'm unstoppable. Literally unstoppable. Because I'm cool, calm, and collected. And rather than reacting to a situation, I can be proactive. Rather than being reactive, I can be proactive. I can look for a solution in the next step. But the true beauty lies in this grounding, right? The true beauty lies in the ability that when a man is fully grounded within himself, and he also has that self-love that we'll discuss later, he can encourage those around him. He can uplift those around him. He can support those around him. It's not a competition. He doesn't have this ego need, right? To be better, to be driven by competition. He wants to serve others. He wants to help others. He wants to be a leader in his masculine. I want to discuss with you guys a scenario that was playing in my head, and just run through this with me. Let's say you as a man are home, right? You prepared a dinner for your wife when she gets home. Your wife is a leading executive at a top law firm. She's had a terrible day. She's had to deal with incompetent individuals all day. She's lost a big case. And now she has a deadline to meet. And let's say your wife gets home, right? She opens the door, doesn't say anything. Doesn't say, hi, sweetie. You're all excited to see her, right? You cooked this beautiful dinner. It's beautiful. And she just dumps everything on you, man. She just like unloads everything on you. Everything that is happening in her day. And then she starts lashing out at you, right? Maybe she's like, oh, this food's like, there's not enough butter on these potatoes. There's not enough salt and pepper on this broccoli. The chicken's undercooked. Like, she just starts nitpicking, right? I mean, hopefully the chicken's not undercooked in those things, but this is another example of somebody projecting their issues of the day onto somebody else. And I'm giving this common example, and not just women in general, but I'm using women because it's the perfect example for men to fully understand the emotional mindset of when a day is completely stressed and loaded up like that, how a man should be responding. And so rather than escalating the situation, you decide to be unperturbed again by her emotions, to be grounded, to be calm, to be confident and relaxed, because you realize that she's completely stressed out from work, she's hangry like most of us, and really just wants to vent. And rather than taking it personally, which it isn't, at least this time it isn't, you learn how to listen to your body, you learn how to listen to yourself, and respond accordingly. And I say respond because the word react has a negative connotation. You're responding with effective communication. So this technique that I'm about to share is a little interesting. And you guys might remember it similar to like grade school, but not to the capacity that this technique shares. So when I was about 11, I want to say between ages of 11 and 13, I attended this class with my parents. It was really adults only, but they allowed me to be there because of my living situation, because of how I grew up. And it's called Life Skills International by Dr. Paul Hagstrom was the founder. And it's to help people emotionally mature, but also to deal with abuse, to address abuse, to create loving home, marriages, relationships, all that stuff. So there was a few things that I picked up from there. But my biggest issue is they thought it was a really good idea. They thought it was a really good idea to have a snack table in the back corner. And so, as a result of that, I retained a few important things, but most of the time I'd be in the back gorging on food. And I mean, what are you supposed to do? Boys growing, free food and a smorgasbord of like peppers and cheeses and crackers and sometimes dessert. Like, it's a boy's dream. Let me fuel myself with sugar and then I can sit down and learn. That's how it works. But Dr. Paul Hagstrom discusses how to diffuse a situation. So let's go back to that scenario, right? She gets home, she's venting. Rather than me engaging in my emotional behavior of anger or lashing out against her, right? Rather than escalating the situation, I'm de-escalating the situation. Again, calm, confident, cool, collected, not nervous, okay? And what he suggests is that in that time, you say to her, I'm going to take a time out. Let's revisit this in a little bit. And now the key here is when I say time out, I don't mean you go play video games for 2 hours. You go watch TV for an hour and they're like, okay, honey. No, this time is meant for you to reflect on that trigger, right? Because if you were getting angry, something triggered you to get angry, and this is what they teach. But you're reflecting in that time, in that process. And what this allows us to do is by taking a step back, we're able to get the whole picture, right? The whole picture of everything that's going on, rather than just what we're feeling and what we're seeing. And so something very interesting happens to the brain scientifically and biologically when we are angry. So when we're angry, testosterone absolutely just surges up, right? It floods our brain. Surprisingly, cortisol levels. Cortisol is the primary driver in what is called the stress hormone. it actually decreases, which was kind of fascinating. And the left hemisphere of our brain that is associated with logic receives like this massive stimulation. But the crazy thing about it is that when we're angry, even better, is the prefrontal cortex that is for communication and emotion, right? Having the ability to develop empathy, both the prefrontal cortexes get shut down completely. And so you're just left with this surging mess, and then you add adrenaline, right? You add adrenaline to the mix, and you have a very potent cocktail that is not fit for an effective communication, not fit for a healthy argument, not fit for any sort of communication. Because now we've added chemicals from the body into the mix and we can't think straight. And one of the things that he teaches is that anger that you feel, right? Let's say she gets home and you're angry, then you start lashing out. Well, I feel this way, right? And you start lashing out your anger. That's actually the secondary emotion you're feeling. Now there's a hidden root cause under that, and that primary emotion, because you made that dinner and she didn't appreciate it, is you feel either unworthy or unloved. And that's what the root cause of it is. That's what's driving me to be upset. And so sharing that, I was able to revisit different scenarios that I've had in my life where I've gotten upset, especially like with my parents growing up. I mean, as teenagers, we're always yelling. I used to say horrible stuff to my parents, like, I hate you, I wish you died. Good stuff like that. And I feel bad about it, but that's just another example of those chemicals being introduced into our brain and controlling what we feel. And so what I'm calling all you to do, a grounded man is cool, calm, collected, does not let emotions sway him, does not let the normal events of life change who he is or change his day or shape the entire week. He just allows himself to be there and goes, yep, that is an emotion, that's this emotion, and this is how I choose to address it. And with that being said, like, comment, and subscribe if this was anything useful to you. I'd love to hear back from you guys. And remember, there's an appropriate time and an inappropriate time to cry. Don't cry over ladybugs. Stay frosty.